You have a Robinhood account you opened during COVID that is currently down somewhere between embarrassing and devastating. You have a 401k from a job you left 2 years ago that you keep meaning to roll over but haven't. You have $340 sitting in a high-yield savings account you opened after watching a TikTok in January, and you have $6,200 in credit card debt accruing interest every single night while you sleep. And somehow, despite all of that financial activity, the accounts, the apps, the intentions, you still feel completely behind. Like everyone else figured out a secret that nobody ever told you. Here is the thing, there is no secret, but there is an order, a specific research-backed sequence for where your money should go, and almost nobody follows it. Not because it's complicated, because nobody ever laid it out clearly, and because your brain is actively working against you every time you try. I'm going to fix both of those problems today. By the end of this video, you will know exactly where every dollar should go, in what order, and why your psychology has been quietly sabotaging the whole thing. Before we get into the steps, I need to say something that financial content almost never says. You were set up to fail at this, not by accident, not by bad luck, structurally, deliberately. The financial services industry makes significantly more money when you are confused, when you are chasing trends, when you are paying fees you don't understand, and when you are making emotional decisions instead of systematic ones. Confusion is their product. Your anxiety is their business model. At the same time, and this is the part most people don't want to hear, understanding that doesn't let you off the hook, because the consequences of financial chaos land on you, not them. The credit card interest compounds in your account. The retirement you don't save for is your retirement. The financial anxiety keeping you up at 2 a.m. is in your head, not theirs. So yes, the system is stacked against you, and you still have to fix it anyway. The good news is the fix is simpler than you think. It just requires doing things in the right order. Here's why order matters so much. Imagine building a house starting with the roof. You can have the most beautiful roof in the neighborhood, premium tiles, solar panels, architectural perfection, and it means absolutely nothing without a foundation underneath it. It will collapse. Financial building works exactly the same way. Investing in stocks before you have an emergency fund is a beautiful roof with no foundation. It will collapse the moment life happens, and life always happens. Here is something neuroscience has confirmed that should completely reframe how you feel about your financial decisions so far. Your brain was not built for this. Literally, the human brain evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to prioritize immediate, concrete, visible rewards over abstract, delayed, invisible ones. A piece of fruit you can eat today beats a fruit tree you might grow in a year. Every time. Hardwired, non-negotiable. Now apply that to money. The dopamine hit of buying a stock in a company you've heard of, something that feels real, exciting, like you're participating in the economy, is neurologically indistinguishable from the dopamine hit of finding food when you're hungry. Your brain loves it. It rewards you for it with a little chemical rush of satisfaction. Paying down a credit card balance, your brain experiences that as loss. You had money, now you don't. Even though mathematically you are wealthier, your limbic system registers it as subtraction, as deprivation, and your limbic system is significantly older and more powerful than the rational prefrontal cortex that knows the math. This is why people with six-figure salaries carry credit card debt. This is why people fund Robinhood accounts before funding retirement. This is why you know what you should do and still don't do it. It is not weakness. It is not stupidity. It is your ancient brain running survival software in a modern financial world it was never designed to navigate. The solution isn't to try harder. It's to build systems that remove your brain from the equation entirely. Automate the right behavior so your emotions never get a vote. That's the actual strategy, and it starts with step 1. I know you've heard this before, and you immediately started calculating how long it would take to save 3 to 6 months of expenses, and then quietly gave up because that number felt impossible. So let me completely reframe what an emergency fund actually is, and why the traditional advice about it is actively unhelpful. An emergency fund is not primarily about emergencies. It is primarily about your decision-making quality under stress. When your car breaks down and you have zero savings, you are not making a financial decision about how to pay for it. You are in a neurological crisis state, cortisol flooding your system, prefrontal cortex offline, threat response activated, and in that state you will do whatever stops the pain fastest. Payday loan at 400% APR, credit card at 28%, borrowing from someone you'd rather not owe. Not because you're irresponsible, because your brain is trying to survive a perceived emergency with whatever tool it can grab. A $1,000 emergency fund changes that entire equation. It does not solve every emergency. It does not even solve most emergencies. What it does is keep you out of crisis mode for the majority of common unexpected expenses, a car repair, a medical copay, an appliance breaking down. And staying out of crisis mode keeps your rational brain online. That is worth more than any investment return. Research from Vanguard found that people with even $2,000 in liquid savings scored dramatically higher on financial well-being measures than people with none. Not $20,000, $2,000. The psychological safety of having any buffer changes how you see every other financial decision you make. Start with $1,000. Put it in a high-yield savings account, currently paying around 4 to 4.5% annually, and do not touch it unless you genuinely have no other option. That is your foundation. Everything else gets built on top of it. Once you have that $1,000, then move to step 2. If you have credit card debt, personal loan debt, or any debt charging you more than roughly 8% annually, eliminating that debt is the single highest returning investment available to you on earth. Let me do the math that your brain won't naturally do on its own, because Stanford research has confirmed humans are genuinely terrible at calculating compound interest. We think linearly. Compound interest is exponential. We consistently underestimate both how fast debt grows and how much it costs us. Say you have $5,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest. That feels manageable, right? $5,000. Annoying but survivable. Here's what your brain won't tell you. Making minimum payments on that balance means you will pay nearly $7,000 in interest alone before it's gone. You borrowed $5,000 and you'll pay back $12,000. And the entire time that's happening, the interest compounds every single night. Now flip it. Every dollar you put toward paying down that 22% debt gives you a guaranteed, risk-free, tax-free 22% return. Warren Buffett's long-term average annual return at Berkshire Hathaway is around 20%. You are beating Warren Buffett, guaranteed, with zero risk. The only reason it doesn't feel that way is that it doesn't show up as a green number in an app. The method is straightforward. List every debt you carry and its interest rate. Pay the minimum on everything to avoid penalties. Then take every extra dollar you can find and throw it at the highest rate debt first. This is called the debt avalanche, and it saves you the most money mathematically. If you need psychological momentum, some people prefer paying the smallest balance first, the debt snowball. Either works. The best strategy is always the one you'll actually follow. One critical mindset shift. Stop thinking of debt payoff as spending money and start thinking of it as investing at a guaranteed high return, because that is precisely what it is. Here is the one exception to paying off debt before investing, and it is non-negotiable. If your employer offers a 401k match, you contribute enough to capture every single dollar of that match before you do anything else, before finishing debt payoff, before maxing your IRA, before anything. Why? Because an employer match is a 50 to 100% guaranteed instant return on your contribution. No investment on earth delivers that. Not venture capital, not real estate, not crypto on its best day. If your employer matches 100% of your contribution up to 3% of your salary, the moment you put that money in, it doubles. Instantly, before it earns a single dollar of market return. Let's make it concrete. You earn $55,000 a year. Your employer matches 50 cents on every dollar up to 6% of your salary. Contributing $3,300 a year, $275 a month, gets you $1,650 in free employer money. That's $1,650 you did nothing to earn except participate in a plan that already exists for you. Cornell University research found that a significant portion of employees with access to employer matching don't capture the full match. The primary reason isn't that they can't afford it. It's that the benefit feels abstract and distant. The money goes into an account you can't see or touch for decades. Your brain files it as not quite real. The fix is automation. Set your contribution percentage once, automate it, and never think about it again. Money that moves before it hits your checking account never triggers your spending impulses. You cannot miss what you never mentally possessed. Get the full match every paycheck without exception. Once you've got your employer match secured, the next move surprises most people. You don't keep putting more money into your 401k. You open or prioritize an individual retirement account instead. Here is why. Your employer's 401k plan was chosen by your company, not by you. And companies typically select plans based on administrative simplicity and corporate relationships, not on what gives you the best investment options at the lowest cost. Most corporate 401k plans offer a limited menu of mutual funds with annual expense ratios between 0.5 and 1.5%. That sounds trivial. It is not trivial. Research from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that a 1% annual fee difference compounded over 30 years can eliminate roughly 28% of your final retirement balance. On a portfolio that would have been worth $800,000, you're leaving $224,000 behind, quietly, invisibly, in fees that never show up as a line item. An IRA gives you complete control. You choose the brokerage, you choose the funds. You can invest in index funds with expense ratios as low as 0.03%. That's 3 cents on every $100. versus $1.50 on every 100 in a typical 401k fund. That difference, compounded over decades, is life-changing. For 2025, you can contribute up to $7,000 annually to an IRA, or $8,000 if you're 50 or older. Now you'll face a choice between traditional and Roth. Traditional means you get a tax deduction today and pay taxes on withdrawals in retirement. Roth means you pay taxes today and withdrawals in retirement are completely tax-free. Simple rule for most Gen Z and millennials: if you're early in your career and your income is lower than it will likely be later, choose Roth. You're paying taxes now at a lower rate, locking in tax-free growth for decades. If you're in peak earning years and a high bracket, traditional may save you more. When in doubt, split it. Tax diversification gives you flexibility in retirement that is genuinely priceless. If you have access to a health savings account through a high-deductible health plan, stop what you're doing and pay attention, because this account is genuinely one of the most powerful wealth-building tools in the American tax code and is almost universally ignored. Here is what makes it extraordinary. The HSA is the only account in existence that gives you a tax advantage at every single stage. Contributions are tax-deductible. Growth is tax-free. Withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are tax-free. Triple tax advantage. No other account, not your 401k, not your Roth IRA, not anything, does all three simultaneously. For 2025, you can contribute up to $4,300 for individual coverage or $8,550 for a family. The catch is you need to be enrolled in a qualifying high-deductible health plan. If you're young, relatively healthy, and not dealing with significant ongoing medical costs, a high-deductible plan paired with an HSA is often the smartest choice available. Now here is the strategy that almost nobody knows about, and that transforms an HSA from a medical expense account into a secret retirement weapon. Pay for your current medical expenses out of your regular checking account, not your HSA, if you can afford to. Let your HSA money sit invested in low-cost index funds inside the account, growing tax-free for years or decades. And here's the part that feels almost illegal. There's no time limit on HSA reimbursements. Keep every medical receipt from every doctor visit, prescription, dental appointment, and eye exam. 20 years from now, you can reimburse yourself for all of it from your HSA, tax-free, after that money has been compounding in the market for 2 decades. After age 65, an HSA functions like a traditional IRA for non-medical expenses. You pay regular income tax on withdrawals, but there's no penalty. And since healthcare is one of the largest and most unpredictable expenses in retirement, having a dedicated pool of tax-free money specifically for that purpose is quite literally a financial superpower that most people walk past without noticing. You've built your emergency fund. You've eliminated high-interest debt. You're capturing your employer match. Your IRA is funded. Your HSA is growing. Now you go back to your 401k and push contributions as high as you can. For 2025, the maximum 401k contribution is $23,500 if you're under 50, or $31,000 if you're 50 or older. Most people never come close to these limits. The average American saves around 6 to 7% of income, which for most earners doesn't even reach the employer match threshold, let alone full 401k maximization. If you're working through this sequence and have reached this step, you are genuinely in rare company. You are not average. You are operating in the top tier of financial decision-making in America, not because you earn more, but because you've prioritized in the right order. The 401k's main advantages at this stage are its contribution limits, far higher than an IRA, and its tax deferral. Every dollar you put in reduces your taxable income today. On a $70,000 salary, maxing your 401k reduces your taxable income to $46,500. That is a meaningful tax savings that compounds every year you do it. Even if your plan's fund options aren't perfect, the tax advantage typically outweighs the fee disadvantage at this stage. Put as much as you can afford in, choose the lowest cost index funds available in your plan, and let time do the heavy work. And now finally, after all of that, we get to the account type most people start with, the regular brokerage account, the one with no contribution limits, no withdrawal restrictions, no tax advantages, and complete freedom to buy whatever you want. This is where most people begin their investing journey. This is where most people should finish. Taxable brokerage accounts are not bad. They are just inefficient compared to every tax-advantaged option above them. When you hold investments in a taxable account, you pay capital gains tax when you sell, income tax on dividends, and potentially additional taxes depending on how long you hold positions. The cumulative drag of those taxes over 30 years is substantial. Research modeling $10,000 invested annually at 7% returns over 30 years shows approximately $944,000 in a tax-advantaged account versus roughly $700,000 in a taxable account with the same return. That is $244,000 lost purely to tax drag, money that was never taken from you in one visible transaction, just eroded slowly and invisibly over decades. But once you've maximized every tax-advantaged option above, taxable accounts become genuinely valuable. They offer complete flexibility, no age restrictions, no penalties for early withdrawal, no limits on contributions. If you want to retire before 59 and a half and need bridge funding before your retirement accounts become accessible, taxable accounts are how you do it. If you're saving for a goal within the next 5 to 10 years, a house, a business, a sabbatical, taxable accounts are the right vehicle. Think of taxable accounts as the expansion pack. The core game is everything before them. Let me bring it all home. Emergency fund first, $1,000 to start, then build from there. High interest debt next, because a guaranteed 22% return beats every investment on earth. Employer match immediately after, because free money with a 100% instant return has no competition. IRA before more 401k, because lower fees and more control compound into enormous differences over time. HSA if you have access, triple tax advantage, greatest underutilized tool in the tax code. Max your 401k, push contributions as high as your situation allows. And finally, taxable accounts, the last step, not the first. If you're sitting here realizing you've been doing this in a completely different order, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not financially hopeless. You were handed a financial system designed to profit from your confusion, a brain wired for immediate reward in a world that requires long-term thinking and almost no practical education about any of this. The fact that you're watching this, thinking about this, trying to understand this, that already puts you ahead of most people who are not thinking about it at all. The sequence isn't complicated, but it requires doing boring things in a boring order and resisting the entire financial media ecosystem that makes its money convincing you that exciting is better. Exciting is not better. Systematic is better. Automated is better. Boring and consistent, compounding quietly in the background for decades, that is the actual path. The people who build real wealth are not smarter than you. They are not luckier than you. They just stopped letting their emotions pick the order. Now you know the order. The rest is just execution. If this gave you clarity, subscribe, because we go deep on the psychology, the neuroscience, and the real behavioral strategies behind financial decision-making every week. Not theory, not hype. Just the actual mechanics of building a financial life that works, with the brain you actually have, not the perfectly rational one nobody has.